Hey guys, what's up? Derek here from Bomb Socks with another week of Bomb Bites, where we feast upon the words of Christ one bite at a time. We are getting into 2 Samuel this week, and there's some great things in here as we get 2 Samuel and into 1 Kings. Great lessons. And one of my favorite ones is actually one, it's not mentioned in the Come Follow Me, but it's one that we actually talked about last year when we got into the Doctrine and Covenants. It was actually section 85 of the Doctrine and Covenants, and it refers to an Old Testament story, which is a crazy story, but I think it is very instructive. So we're actually going to rewind back, and I'm going to show you a previous episode with this that I think you'll appreciate. It's very, very relevant to our day. So go ahead and watch this. So I got to show you this right here. This is the Ark of the Covenants, okay? Pretty significant thing back in Old Testament times. In fact, the Ark was the symbol of God's presence, his glory and majesty. When first given to Israel, the Ark was placed in the Holy of Holies in the tabernacle. Not even a priest was allowed to approach it. Only the high priest, who is a type of Christ, could approach it, and then only after going through an elaborate ritual of personal cleansing and propitiation, which is regaining God's favor by repenting for his sins. When moving the ark, priests were required to use poles running through rings on the sides to carry it. And now, to back this up, look at the book of Numbers. Okay, I know we're studying the Doctrine and Covenants, but you'll see where I'm going with this. Numbers 1:51, it says, "When the tabernacle setteth forward, the Levites shall take it down." Not anybody else, but the Levites. When the tabernacle is to be pitched, the Levites shall set it up. And the stranger that cometh nigh shall be put to death. So only the Levites are touching this thing. Numbers chapter 4, verse 15. "And when Aaron and his sons, who were Levites, have made an end of covering the sanctuary and all the vessels of the sanctuary, as the camp is to set forward, after that the sons of Kohath shall come to bear it. But they shall not touch any holy thing, lest they die. These things are the burden of the sons of Kohath of the tabernacle of the congregation." It's like they had to move it, but they can't touch it. This is a burden, right? In fact, that 15D footnote, it says, i.e., of the sanctuary, more particularly the ark. Okay, so there is the rule. If you haven't noticed, the rule is don't touch the ark. Okay, that's what's been told. Now, here's what happens. You go to a story in 2 Samuel chapter 6, verses 3 through 7. And again, this is the Old Testament. I love the Old Testament. So verses 3 through 7, verse 3 says, "And they set the ark of God upon a new cart, and brought it out of the house of Abinadab that was in Gibeah, and Uzzah and Ahio, the sons of Abinadab, drave." That's the past tense of drove. They drave the new cart. "And they brought it out of the house of Abinadab, which was in Gibeah, accompanying the ark of God. And Ahio went before the ark. And David and all the house of Israel played before the Lord in all manner of instruments made of fir wood, even in harps, psalteries, timbrels, cornets, on cymbals." They're basically having a party. Okay, they're dancing, having a great time. "And when they came to Nachon's threshing floor, Uzzah put forth his hand to the ark of God and took hold of it. For the oxen shook it. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Uzzah, and God smote him there for his error, and there he died by the ark of God." Now that seems a little harsh, doesn't it? Here's the Lord saying, look, what I tell you, don't touch the ark, right? And all Uzzah is doing, this picture right here, the ark appears to be falling, and he just is like, oh no, the ark is falling. I gotta stop this thing. But here's the Lord who had said, look, don't touch the ark, okay? Now, what's interesting, right by the word ark of God in verse 6, it takes you to section 85 of the Doctrine and Covenants, right? Which, again, you're wondering, okay, Derek, when are you going to get to Doctrine and Covenants? Here we are. Why do you think Uzzah was punished for steadying the ark? It seems like such harsh judgment. But D&C 85 verse 8 says, "While that man who was called of God and appointed, that putteth forth his hand to steady the ark of God, shall fall by the shaft of death, like as a tree that is smitten by the vivid shaft of lightning." All right, so what does it mean to steady the ark of God? This is an interesting statement you can talk about as a family. You can write about it in your journal. What does it mean to steady the ark of God? Well, here's an interesting quote. It makes me think of ark steadiers in our day, and they are alive and well. "It is a little dangerous for us to go out of our own sphere and try unauthoritatively to direct the affairs of a brother." Basically, stay in your own lane, right? You remember the case of Uzzah, who stretched forth his hand to steady the ark. He seemed justified when the oxen stumbled in putting forth his hand to steady that symbol of the covenant. We today think his punishment was very severe. Be that as it may, the incident conveys a lesson of life. let us look around us and see how quickly men who attempt unauthoritatively to steady the ark die spiritually. Their souls become embittered, their minds distorted, their judgment faulty, and their spirit depressed. Such is the pitiful condition of men who, neglecting their own responsibilities, spend their time in finding fault with others. Interesting statement. So what are some things that we can do now so that when the temptation to steady the ark comes, we'll trust in the Lord and his servants? Because oftentimes we will see things very myopically. President Nelson used that in a couple conferences. He said, myopic. We look very, very much like this. We cannot see the big picture. And so oftentimes when we do that, we look at maybe prophets and apostles and just think, they have no idea what they're talking about. Let me get that ark that appears to be falling. Well, let me show you these guys right here. Let me tell you, they know what they're doing. This is a quote from Elder Holland when he was a brand new apostle. He said, not often, but over the years, some sources have suggested that the brethren are out of touch in their declarations, that they do not know the issues, that some of their policies and practices are out of date, not relevant to our times, which is interesting. This was 1996 that this was given. As the least of those who have been sustained by you to witness the guidance of this church firsthand, I say with all the fervor of my soul, you can hear Elder Holland saying that never in my personal or professional life have I ever associated with any group who are so in touch, who know so profoundly the issues facing us, who look so deeply into the old, stay so open to the new, and weigh so carefully, thoughtfully, and prayerfully everything in between. I testify that the grasp of this body of men and women have of moral and societal issues exceeds that of any think tank or brain trust of comparable endeavor of which I know anywhere on the earth. I bear personal witness of how thoroughly good they are, and how hard they work, and how humbly they live. It is no trivial matter for this church to declare to the world prophecy, seership, and revelation, but we do declare it. It is a true light shining in a dark world, and it shines from these proceedings. So I love how Elder Holland said, look, you got to trust, okay? Trust that these apostles and prophets know what they are doing. All I can do is take you to the last verse of the wonderful primary song, Follow the Prophet. Now we have a world where people are confused. If you don't believe it, go and watch the news. We can get direction all along our way if we heed the prophets, follow what they say, and then you know the rest of it, follow the prophet. So that, I think, is a great message, a modern day message of what it means to steady the ark. Trust in God and trust in his prophets. And if you think you see the ark starting to fall, and you and I have been commanded not to touch the ark, we trust God. And I promise you, there is safety in doing that. One of my favorite messages, I am so grateful for a prophet. I am grateful for Russell M. Nelson, and I am grateful that he knows what he is doing because God knows what he is doing, and I am grateful for that. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and thanks for sharing these messages. We're so grateful that you do that, and if you haven't already, go check out our amazingly comfortable gospel-themed socks at BOM-BITES.com. Godspeed. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.